Welcome back to How to Be a Business Coach for Small Business Part 2. In this video, we're going to dive into pricing your coaching services, marketing, and selling. All right, let's go. I'm going to start off with how to price your services. And this is a really important piece that you don't want to miss. And after we talk about pricing, I'm going to answer the question that everybody asks, should I put pricing on my website? Then I'm going to share with you the beginning of the best sales process ever and how to get clients on a call with you. And then we're going to dive into other marketing strategies so that you can have more clients filling up your pipeline. Finally, I'm going to address the question of how much should you charge? You ready? Let's go. So first off, let's talk about how to price your coaching services. Now, the biggest thing I want to share, if you get nothing else from this video and nothing else from this whole series, okay? This is the thing to remember. Please, whatever you do not charge by the hour. Charge instead by the outcome. This is the biggest problem that people run into. It's the biggest problem I had. When I started my consulting and coaching business, I charged by the session, I charged by the hour. And guess what happens when we do that? That means the only way to make more money is to sell more time. And very quickly, if you're any good at what you do, your time is going to get filled up and maxed out and you're going to be exhausted. So here's the thing to remember. People will pay more to get an outcome in less time. One more time. People will pay more to get an outcome in less time. And this is what coaches forget. Coaches often think, well, I'm selling my time is valuable, so the more time I give them, the more they'll pay me. And because everybody wants to get paid more, they tend to try to offer more time in order to get bigger deals. That is the absolute wrong way to go about building a successful, sustainable, scalable coaching business that you actually enjoy. In fact, it's a recipe for hating your business within a couple years. So instead, what you want to do is get really clear about the outcomes that you deliver and the outcomes that your ideal audience wants and needs, and then price based on those outcomes. And even better, if you can deliver those outcomes in a leveraged way and still charge the same amount, you're golden. I'll give you an example. I used to, years ago when I was selling my time for money, I used to sell a packet of 6 sessions, and I used to sell it for about $2,500. That's pretty good. I was doing pretty well in my business. But I would sell this package of 6 sessions, and then when I redid my model, and by the way, I'm not going to get into that deeply here, but if you want to check out my playlist all about my retreat and master my model, it'll show you how I quantum leaped my business by shifting my model. So when I shifted my model to a group retreat format, I could start putting 5, 10, 15 people into the same 3-day program for $2,500. So I could make the same amount of money in 3 days with several clients versus I could only do with that same amount of time, maybe 4 clients. If you multiplied 6 sessions by 4 people, 24 hours, that's about what I would do in a 3-day weekend. So I could make way more money by selling that same outcome, but with a lot less time per person. And the clients didn't care. Think about it. If the client's going to get the result anyways, they don't care what format it's delivered in. Now, there are clients out there that think that they want and need your time in order to get their outcome. But if you're a good coach and a good leader, then you can have them see that they're going to get as good of a result, and they'll listen to you. If you say, listen, here's what I recommend. What you need is this 3-day program, or what you need is this thing, this package that's going to give you this outcome. So that was a long-winded way of basically saying that you don't need to sell your time in order to sell an outcome. And you can charge the same for the outcome that's delivered, even in much less time, as long as you can really stand by that outcome. So the next question that everybody always asks all the time is, should I put pricing on my website? My answer to that is a definitive no. Now, I will qualify that no and say it kind of depends on your model. For example, if you're doing a do-it-yourself course that's $47 or $97 or even $197, yeah, go right ahead. No big deal. You have a funnel, you get people to buy, great. But if you're actually a coach who's working with clients, then I wouldn't put your pricing on your website because number one, your pricing should be a lot higher than what I just said. And number two, in order to be able to sell higher ticket coaching packages and programs, I think it requires a conversation. My mentor, Mark LeBlanc, one of my mentors, calls it a meaningful conversation. And what I've experienced in my own business and what I've seen with my clients is that they are usually able to sell much higher price points with a conversation than they could ever sell from a website. And what happens is if you put the price right there on your website, a person might look at the price and just make a snap decision right there and say, oh, that's too much, can't afford that. And the thing is that if you're a really good business coach, then you can help them afford it by teaching them what they need to know to grow their business, right? And so you don't want them to make that snap decision. Instead, what I like to say is all roads lead to a meaningful conversation. So instead of putting pricing on your website, I would basically sell your discovery call, your strategy session, your intro exploratory call, whatever you call it. I would sell that for free. So I'll give you an example. I have two things that I do on my website. I don't put pricing there, but what I do is I offer people a choice. Book a call with Michelle. When they click that book a call button, you can see this right on my website. If you go to superstaractivator.com/go, they come to my website, they get two choices. They can book a free call for 15 minutes, or they can pay me for a full 60-minute strategy session. And this 60-minute strategy session that they pay for, if they buy any of my services or programs, they can apply what they invested in the strategy session towards my programs. So that's how I handle it, where I'm able to get a small, free, meaningful conversation with potential prospects without taking up too much of my time. And I also have this other option for people who are probably more qualified prospects willing to invest a little bit. And then from there, having that conversation, enrolling them into the next step if it's a right fit. By the way, there's a link to that part of my website below. It's superstaractivator.com/go. If you want to check out how I do this process or even set up a call yourself, feel free to do that. By the way, I jumped ahead a little bit without realizing it. I got ahead of myself and I already answered the question, how to get more prospects on a call. So that's what I recommend to get prospects on a call is all roads lead to let's have a conversation, right? And so when you do a speaking engagement, when you do a YouTube video, when you do a webinar, my suggestion is that you have all those leads come to a meaningful conversation with you. And in that meaningful conversation, determine if a program of yours or what program of yours is a right fit for them. And by the way, I have a video on this. I have a video on how to do sales, especially high ticket coaching sales. So check out that video. It's going to help you. Another question that I hear a lot is how much should I charge? Now, obviously the answer depends. I mean, it depends on how experienced you are, the value of the outcomes that you deliver, who your target audience is. But I will say this. I help a lot of people figure out their pricing. In fact, that's one of my areas of magic. What I've found is that generally coaches tend to undercharge rather than overcharge. In fact, it's so rare for me to see somebody overcharge. I can't even remember the last time it happened, but over and over and over again, I see clients who come to me and they're like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And they're going to get this amazing outcome and that amazing outcome. And I'm going to put in this bonus and I'm going to give them this thing and I'm going to charge $400 for it. I'm like, what? What are you kidding me? Right? And so really getting clear about the value of your outcomes. And one way to do that, here's one way to put a price on it. This is an exercise that I do with my clients. You can go to your satisfied clients, people who've already worked with you, maybe your 3 or 4 favorite and best clients, and go back and say, what were all the outcomes that we generated together? And write down a list, right? So this is a conversation with them and you're writing them down. And then once you've gotten all those answers, ask them, what's that worth? What's that worth to you now? And get a sense of what the client would value it at now. What would you pay for those results if you wanted to do it again? So that's one way to get a good outcome. And by the way, little secret note here, if you go through that process with your clients, don't miss out on the opportunity to get a referral. The best time to get a referral is when your client is thinking about all the amazing ways that you've helped them. So if you've just gone through this exercise, you put a number on it, one thing you might want to do is say, hey, by the way, do you know anybody else who might want to get results like that? And then they might have a friend or a family member or, a colleague or something. So one of the best ways to generate referrals is that way. I'm not going to go deep into that because that wasn't the point of this video, but for charging and figuring out what the value of that outcome is, go and talk to some of the clients that you've worked with and find out from them what they would pay for something like that. Last thing I want to just touch on is how do you market your coaching business? Well, here's the thing. I have a whole entire bunch of videos, even a whole playlist on how to market your coaching services. So I'm not going to dive deep into that, but I do want to mention 3 things that I do that work really well. The first is speaking. And I'm talking about speaking engagements in front of my ideal audience. A lot of times I do these engagements for free because I know I'm going to get leads from it. The second, which I mentioned earlier, is referrals, getting existing clients to remember how much I've helped them and then give me the name of somebody that they want to introduce me to. And third, you're looking at it, YouTube. So if you want to learn more about how to market your coaching business using YouTube, then check out my video because that's exactly what that video dives deeply into. Enjoy.